All right, welcome on into another episode of Fearless Tuesday. This is actually the very first one where we're doing it aside from everything else we do on the show. So for the very first time, you guys are watching Tearless Tuesday, and today's gonna be a lot of fun because as you can see there, there's my name. But now, aside from that, we've got to talk about all the Superman movies. We're ranking all the Superman movies. And look, there's a bit of a caveat because we're talking about live action, theatrically released Superman movies only. We're not getting into anything beyond that because, of course, if you talk about the animated movies, that adds like another 25,000 movies into the list. So we're going to keep things limited to just 10 live action appearances by Superman in a theatrically released movie, which, of course, doesn't include the Justice League movie and Batman v Superman and Superman and the Mole Men from the 1950s. But, of course, it includes all the Christopher Reeve ones. It includes the Brendan Routh movie, as well as the newest James Gunn version of Superman with David Cornsweet in the role. So to do that today with me, I've got, as always, John. How are you doing today?
Pretty good. Ready to talk about our favorites. Got a new shirt. I got my never-ending movie title shirt. But yeah, ready to do this.
I am ready to do this.
I don't have my popcorn bucket though.
This is the first time that we're doing this, right? Because I feel like the last time we did, we have always done tier lists as part of the DCU Daily or Also Curious podcast.
Yes.
So this is the very first time we're doing it by itself. So if you guys are joining us live, fantastic. If you aren't, then you guys are hopefully able to check this out after the fact. The one thing I wanted to point out is if you are watching live, you have the benefit of being able to essentially, vote on the tier list live with us, because John and I know we're not gonna agree on this. So I'm sure we're gonna have lots of fun.
I already filled out my personal list.
Oh wow, okay. All right.
So I have it ready and to go when after we're done, after we have to compromise. Unless you just want to do your list and then I just show my list. But
I was gonna say, can you? Because that was basically what I was gonna do is we both do our list, then we can kind of compare, and then we'll let you guys who are watching live get in on the action as well. We already have Enterprising here, Chili Chimp is here, Derpy's in the chat. So hello to everybody. Thank you for stopping by again. I know this is something new we're trying, right? We want to have Tier List Tuesday be its own thing. We're not going to be here for 5 hours tonight like we were last night with the DCU Daily Show because we already did that earlier. So, but John, really what inspired me, what gave me the inspiration to do this tier list today, as you roll your eyes at the idea, is
I'm not rolling my eyes. No, I'm just opening. You're just opening.
I hear you.
That's it. I swear.
But the idea came from this article in The Hollywood Reporter, calling it basically, the new Superman movie, wonderful, amazing. Maybe not the best Superman movie that we've ever seen, but as the article says, this seems to be the Superman movie that we need right now. Like, this is the Superman we could all use right now. And as you go off the headline, why the world needs Superman, plus a ranking of all his other movies. So the list of movies I picked out were based on this article. And I think it makes sense because they include every live action appearance of Superman in a movie when he's a featured character. That includes movies that he is in by himself, where he is the main superhero, like the James Gunn Superman that's out in theaters right now. That also includes other Superman appearances in recent years with, Batman v Superman, as well as, of course, a Justice League movie. In this particular case, we have made a choice because the article made the choice. It's not me. The Hollywood Reporter decided to specifically point out Zack Snyder's Justice League, although in the article they write it as 2017, which 2017 was a theatrical one, which we know was really mostly Joss Whedon's Justice League. So, 2021 is how we're going to talk about it. That's the one, the Zack. So that did technically get a limited theatrical release, after its main run. So I know that it's a bit of a caveat, but I'll make an exception for that because if you're going to include that movie, I prefer to use the one that Zack Snyder ended up putting out rather than the one that we got in theaters that was part Snyder, part Whedon. So anyway, John, that brings us to the list itself, right? So I wanted to start off by just looking at the options that we have available to us. So we're going to quickly, skim across what we have available. Then we can dive into it. We also have Rotten Tomato ratings we can talk about for all these movies. So now there are 10 films that we're going to get into. The very first one we have in chronological order, we're going to talk about Superman and the Mole Men. which is from
Mhm.
1951.
It's the only one I have not seen.
I mean, I've seen it like once in my life, so I'm going off of just the one time. So we'll
I'm
just,
going off of like the vibe, or I might just like
yeah,
put. I think I might put in my own special list, so I can't. I'm gonna put in my list like an extra thing because I feel like that's not fair to like judge it because it's simply not fair because I haven't seen it. So
yeah. I mean, we got Movie Spud in the chat saying I'm going to watch the Superman movie starting this weekend until the end of the month. Watching all except any of the Justice League, as I watched the Snyder one a couple of weeks ago. There you go. So you've already spent your 4 hours volunteering to watch the Zack Snyder Justice League. But look, as much as I like it, I for one still will tell you that movie takes a long time to get through. And I really, at this point, every time I get to the part where they're singing off Aquaman into the sea, when with and smelling his sweater, I just hit skip or fast forward until I get past that point because that was unnecessary. Steven is here, welcoming us back on the show. Frankie is back. Kevin is here, saying DC Studio is going to have to earn back the trust of the audience. Superman isn't going to be enough. Well, that's why they have a bunch of other movies on the way. Supergirl, Clayface. We already know Batman and Wonder Woman are being worked on. The Watcher is back, saying Superman the Mole might be number 6 on my list. Well, The Watcher, we have pinned the tier list that we are working on. You can go and follow the link and vote for yours, because then we'll be able to go through your votes after we go through John and I's selections. Movie Spot saying that this is one that I have not seen. It doesn't seem to be
it's on Daily Motion. You can find it on Daily Motion. The entire thing.
dailymotion.com. Enterprising already did his ranking. That's fantastic. Okay, so we have Superman and the Mole Men, of course. And then we have Superman, of course, the movie, Superman the movie with 1978, that really kicked off the modern day superhero movie in essence.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have the sequel to it, Superman 2, which is largely considered even superior to the first one. Then we have Superman 3, where things get a little wonky. Then we have Superman 4, where they might have been going on the quest for peace, but I don't know. They certainly didn't accomplish that in the world of superheroes. But Superman Returns then comes out, in 2006, and literally just completely ignores Superman 3 and 4, but is more
But
or
it
less
is
a
also
tribute
like
slash
told
reboot.
in present day, so it's
Yeah,
like
it's a really
it's like
weird
kind of like half
yes.
remake, half sequel. So it's like, okay.
Yeah. Well, Frankie G already voted on his as well. Enterprising saying Superman and Superman the movie are pretty much tied for him. So we will get into that in a little bit. But before we get into the tier list itself, I wanted to go over the options. Man of Steel, of course, with Henry Cavill. I think that's still really high on my list personally. Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. I personally would like to think the extended edition from the HBO Max
Yeah,
that's the
that's what we're doing.
superior version. So then Zack Snyder's Justice League, the 2021 version, basically the
Which
one
is
that
technically
was
cheating because this was not
I
theatrically released.
it's well
And by that logic, the
I
Richard
mentioned
Donner cut
earlier.
of Superman 2
Okay.
should be on here.
But
I'm just
Superman
saying.
2, okay, I'm just saying, but Superman 2 is not very controversial. I'm just saying, if you had to pick between the one that came out in theaters versus the one,
I mean,
I'm just
technically,
doing us all a
neither are
favor.
Superman movies,
It's
so like he's barely in the fucking thing. So
Yeah, I should have picked a better photo because he's not even in there. But anyway, Superman 2025, of course, we cannot complete the list without that. So, yeah, let's dive into it. I know you guys are excited about this. Movie Spud already saying 1978 Superman is his second favorite movie of all time. So you're gonna put it really high up. The Watcher already giving us his list. So John, how do you want to do it? Do you want me to go first? Do you want to go first yourself? How do you want to approach this?
Screw it. Why don't I go first? You know
All
what? You
right,
already are hosting. I'm gonna go first. All right. So let's
here
this
we go.
is I added a haven't seen, and I'm doing the non-live one because I already did that
Mm-hmm.
one. So I was like, all right, let me do this one. So okay, so should we start in like reverse chronological order?
Let's go
I don't
from
know.
the beginning all the way to the present day. I feel like that's probably makes the most amount of sense. Yeah.
Okay. All right, so that's starting with, this little ditty right here. Where do I put it? So the latest film in the pantheon of Superman films, I think it was really, really, really great. I think it has a couple problems. I think it's I don't want to say it's a mess, but it's like a bit messy at points, a little convoluted at points. I don't like the Krypton twist. I don't like the pacing and editing at some points. However, I do think it is a great movie. However, I don't think it's perfect. so I'm gonna put it in A tier. Gonna put it in A
Okay.
tier,
Nice.
and
All
yes.
right.
So, and then this one's the obvious one since I just said it. Superman and the Mole Man goes and haven't seen. I can't judge the movie. I might go watch it soon because it's only like an hour. It's less than an hour long. It's like 58 minutes because it's essentially a a pilot for a show that was released in theaters,
Yep.
unlike the Batman the movie in 1966 that was meant to be, that was made for movies that had a bigger budget and everything. This was essentially a glorified pilot, and they're like, let's just throw it in theaters, why not? And so it kind of counts, kind of doesn't, but
Yeah. Well,
I
I mean,
might go
it's
watch
still
it later.
got a theatrical release. I mean,
It
Superman's
did have a
theatrical history is
theatrical
a bit
release.
complicated. So,
But
yeah.
Superman 1978, yeah, it's S tier. That's like so obvious. It's S tier. It's the best. It still remains the best. It's a 5-star movie. It's pretty much perfect. It has some like cheesiness and some hokiness for the time, like how they duded up the younger version to make him look like Christopher Reeve. They dubbed over his lines.
Mhm.
Jeff something, I forget what his name was. But they like did his makeup, they gave him the hair, and it just looked weird and hokey, but like yeah, but outside of that, it's pretty much a perfect movie. Now we're getting into all the other movies that kind of just don't matter.
Well, no,
Superman
well,
2,
Superman 2. Let's talk about Superman 2. Yeah.
Superman 2, I think is a movie that very much showcases its production problems because Superman and Superman 2 were meant to be released back to back, I think like a year apart, but I think Richard Donner was focusing a lot of time on Superman 2 with General
Mhm.
Zod and stuff because there's more action sequences and choreography, so he's focusing on that, and the Salkinds were like, "Hey, you got to focus on the thing that's coming out first." So he's like, "Okay, fine." So he focused everything onto Superman, and with that, he had to change the ending of Superman, which was originally the ending of Superman 2, which him like going around the world, in order to have Lois forget who he is. That's why he went back. He that's why like the ending of Superman kind of sort of doesn't really make sense because it was supposed to be the sequel, it was supposed to be the sequel's ending. So he used that for
Right.
so he used that for that, and then in the Superman 2, I think there is a lot of good in it. I think, I mean, Christopher Reeve is still excellent. Margot Kidder is still excellent. Chemistry is great. Terrence Stamp is so fun as Zod. He's having a wonderful time. He's a pretty one-dimensional villain, but like that's kind of adds to the charm of it. I think it is a fun, but like it also, because it's Richard Lester and he's mainly a comedy director, a lot of the comedy is very dated. It's not charming. Some of the effects aren't as good, and it just feels like a hokier movie that's not charming. At least with like some of the hokey elements of this original movie, it adds to the charm of it. This feels like a lesser movie and is overall just not as good, even though it does have some really good elements. I personally prefer the Richard Donner cut. I think that is way better. It feels more like a complete version, even though it does have the original ending that Donner wanted to do with him, uh, having the Earth go back in time, which is still a stupid ending. But with all that, I think Superman 2 is a good movie. I don't think it's great. I don't think it's superior to the first one. Just because there's more action doesn't make it better. So with that, I put it in B tier. I think it's a good movie. I don't think it's great, but it's right in the middle for me. Superman 3, yeah, that's bad. I'm gonna put that in D. It sucks.
It
It's
just
like
it just didn't work. I mean, I don't know
it's
what else
just
to
like
say.
you could tell like they wanted to do Brainiac, but like they couldn't for whatever reason. Maybe it was budget, maybe it just didn't work. Because I read the original treatment that Ilya Salkind did, and it featured Supergirl and Brainiac. I will say it was fucking bad though. It was terrible. Like that treatment was bad. Like it was completely misunderstood Brainiac. Supergirl was very mischaracterized even for the time. It was not good. So like this, I mean both were not good. So with that, Superman 3, it just is, from what I remember of it, it's been so long. It and it also has next to no Lois Lane because she spoke out against the treatment of Richard Donner. So the Salkinds were like, "Yep, we're not going to include her in this movie." They they of course never admitted to that. They're like, no, we just couldn't find a role for her in the movie. It's like she's literally the love
It's
interest of fucking
yeah. How
Superman.
does that?
She
I don't
has a
get it.
role, you dumb
Yeah.
fucks.
Yep. Doesn't make
So
any
and then they
sense.
had Lana Lang, played by Annette O'Toole, who ironically would go on to play Ma Kent in Smallville, which the showrunners actually were not aware of. Fun fact.
Wow. Dang,
So
okay.
yeah, because that's like she came into audition. She's just like she gave the best audition and they liked her, and she was like, I was in Superman 3. They're like, what? And yeah, ridiculous. But yeah, Superman 3, it makes Richard Pryor not funny. Like, that's the biggest cardinal sin of the movie. Like, you're making Richard Pryor not funny. That's
I mean, it's
a
also like
big
just
goose egg right there.
I don't know why, but I just feel like Superman just feels completely different in this movie than what we saw in the
There's
previous
some
movie.
moments. There are some good moments, like the battle between good Clark Kent and evil Superman. That was
Yeah.
before like the whole evil Superman was like done to death. Thanks, Injustice. But like in the context of the movie, that worked. I do think Annette O'Toole did do a good job as Lana Lang. It has like some moments, and again, Christopher Reeve is still good in the role, but it felt very like corporate. It felt the Salkinds were like taking over and wanted to do the movie that they wanted to, because originally when Superman was being made, the Salkinds wanted to make it a full-on comedy, and Richard Donner was like, no, you're gonna fuck up the people who like this character, because it needs to have like a balance of humor. But Salkinds wanted to do a comedy. Richard Lester's a comedy director, so without the guiding hand of Richard Donner, it just went downhill. And even with Superman 2, at least he had some of his movie in there, which prevented it from being like total horseshit. Superman 3 is unfortunately that case. So yeah, it does have some moments. Like if it was like, I would maybe put it in between C and D because of the couple moments it has in there. But for the most part, it's a pretty bad movie, along with Superman 4. Like that's obvious. Like Superman 4, it's Superman made by Canon. It sucks. The effects are horrible. Everyone's mischaracterized. They try their best. I mean, sure, you have like Gene Hackman coming back. Nuclear Man, I will say he's like kind of cool, cheesy, fun, but like this even like maybe it has some so bad it's good moments, but it's like the very simplified approach to nuclear weapons was really bad. Like it was a thing that should have had more nuance and shouldn't have been in a fucking Superman movie. Um and especially one where like the budget, like the production problems, they kept cutting the budget, because half the budget went to He-Man, because like they had to redo the ending, or if it was the reverse. I forget what it was. I forget if like they cut the budget to Masters of the Universe for this or the other way around. I forget what it was, but somebody's budget was getting slashed and it was not working. Canon was pretty much at the end of its life. And yeah, they brought us some cheesy action movies. They produced a horrible, horrible, horrible Superman
Superman
movie.
4
So
was basically like the Moonraker of this franchise.
yeah,
It feels
honestly,
like.
that's Moonraker's a bad movie from what I've heard, and even that's insulting to Moonraker.
Elite
So
Easy is here. Hello, Elite Easy. Just to catch you up,
um
we are doing tier
we're
list for
doing a
all
tier
Superman
list.
movies.
Now
Yep.
Superman Returns is essentially a movie that is wasted potential, because Brandon Routh does a great job in the movie. Kevin Spacey, even though he's a horrible, horrible thing, he's not even a human being. He's just a thing. He's a horrible creature. Um, and you know, they're both great. I mean, Kevin Spacey is still to this day my favorite Lex Luthor. Kate Bosworth is a nothing Lois Lane. She was honestly the worst until Amy Adams came along. Um, she was just kind of milk toast. From what little action there was, it wasn't bad. Like it looks good. I love the Art Deco. There is a lot of good in this movie. It's just that the plot is it's rehashing. It's a lot of it is just it's just kind of boring, but there is a lot
Yeah.
of interesting philosophical debate on like, does the world need Superman, which is what the last 3 movies, this Man of Steel and Superman
Yeah.
2025, all try to
Seems
talk
to be
about.
a theme. Yeah.
It seems to be a theme of like,
Yeah.
does the world still need this? I think Superman Returns almost gets there, but not quite. I don't think it's a good movie, but for what it tries to do and the amount of good in it, like Frank Langella is great as Perry White, Sam Huntington is good as Jimmy Olsen. So again, there's a lot of good in it. It's just all these good ingredients are just stuck in a not great script and a not great movie. The themes are like everything is there to be a good movie. I feel like if this movie had an actual identity instead of being like a weird modernized pseudo sequel to Superman 2, it would have been a better movie. Like it would have been so much better. But it feels like when they decided to make it like a pseudo sequel to, Superman 2 and the Christopher Reeve movies, it was like that was DOA. It was going to be dead on arrival. It wouldn't have
Yeah.
worked. If it had an identity, I feel like it would have been maybe not the greatest thing ever, but it would have been a lot better. But
Yeah.
because of a lot of the things in it, I'm sure people are going to hate me for this, but I'm going to put it in B tier. I don't think it's as good as B tier. I don't think, but like it's so close to being a good movie. It's so close. And like one of my favorite lines from any Superman movie is, "You say the world doesn't need a hero, yet all I hear is people crying for one." Like that is a bomb ass line. And one of
That
the
is a
best
really good
lines from
line.
any Superman movie ever.
It's a
And
it's
there's
a
so
really good
much.
line from any superhero movie, period.
Yeah, it's so good, and like a lot of the things, and the plane sequence is great. If there was like a one in between B and C, that's where I would put Superman Returns, because it's like it's not quite B tier, but it's also not quite as bad as C tier. It's like
Mhm.
right there. So it's so close to being a good movie. That's the problem.
Yeah.
But I like a lot of aspects in it.
Okay.
Um,
Yep.
so then we get to the most controversial aspect of this video is the Zack Snyder Superman trilogy and Man of Steel, Batman vs Superman, Dawn of Justice, and Zack Snyder's Justice League. Now, first with Man of Steel, I have voiced my complaints many a times before. I don't think it's a horrible movie by any case. It's just the second half just kind of implodes itself because it's just two guys punching for like the second
I
half of the
feel like that
movie.
people remember it as being a bigger part of the movie than it was, but
But it feels
'cause
like it is like,
it's the
but
thing
it's
is
not
'cause
just that.
it's also I will say this though, in defense of that sequence, it's not Michael Bay Transformers
It
level of
isn't,
like
but
it just
it
like
gets
I can't
tiring.
get through some of those third acts of Transformers movies because I'm just like falling asleep because it becomes like visual ASMR that's just putting you to bed sleep
That's
eventually,
what it is
you
for
know?
me though. That's that
It's
third act is just like it's just so much like onslaught. It's not quite as annoying as a Michael Bay movie, but it's just an onslaught to the senses and just too much. But even then, outside of that, I don't believe in the superficial criticism. Oh, Superman doesn't smile. Paul Kent says the kids should have died. Yeah,
he
we
said
make fun of that.
maybe.
He
He said
says, first of all, he
maybe.
says maybe,
And
and
he
I
wasn't
view
even
that. Here's the thing.
convinced. Yeah.
I will view that as someone, as a guy who is so fucking scared, who doesn't want to lose his son to like the government who will fucking undoubtedly experiment on him. So that he's not saying to let kids die. There's a little bit more
There's
to that
nuance
than
to it,
just
yeah.
letting the kids die.
I agree
There's
with you,
more to that.
Steven,
And
yeah.
it's a guy that wants to protect his son. And he's like, you will do anything to protect your child.
Yes.
And if that means letting kids die, then maybe that is the case, because it's like all I care is about my kid. Like I view that in the way of like a parent sees it. Like I care about one kid and one kid only, and that's my son, who is an alien that I don't want to see fucking taken from me. So that's how I view that scene. Like I don't believe in the superficial stuff, but a lot of the dialogue is just like pseudo intellectual crap. I don't like a lot of like I don't like the non-linear editing. It's very confusing. I'm just not a huge fan of that. Like Pulp Fiction did it right, and nobody has done it right ever since. Well, The Limey is okay, but I just like a lot of it is just pseudo intellectual garbage. It's very surface level. I feel like it's a very
I
hollow
did.
movie. It
Yes.
feels
Yeah.
very empty to me. Like people get more from it than I do. Sure. It just for the most part, it's an empty movie and it feels very hollow. I think Henry Cavill tries his best. Michael Shannon is excellent. He's arguably the best Zod we've ever gotten. Um, but it's overall just I don't like the way it looks. I Some of the acting is just very one note. They try, but it's just overall kind of a blem. It does have some marks like some of the action before it does get kind of boring is very good. The CGI still looks great to this day, even though I don't like the look of Krypton. Um,
I
and
was
it's
fascinated
still
by Krypton in this movie. I
yeah,
just,
like I don't
as a
like the look
sci-fi
of it.
fan,
I don't
like
like the technology
I
of it,
just,
but like
it's like I feel
it's
like
good
the
CGI. It's still good.
like the Zack Snyder color grade really overcorrected in this movie in so many ways, because you look at some of these imagery, some of this imagery here, that's, some of it is pulled directly from the movie. Other stuff is just, set photography. And I have to be honest, like shots like this, they did not feel as colorful in the movie itself, right? And I just feel like they
No.
overcorrected in some ways. Like this, like was dirtied up too much. I will say, despite the fact that I love Man of Steel, I think it's my favorite Man of Steel movie. By the way, this scene here brings a tear to my eye to this day, where he first
But yeah,
shows
that's a
Clark,
very
right?
good
Like the
scene
whole,
of like, can I
yeah,
just keep pretending I'm your son? You
yeah,
are my son. Like
yep.
that's a very good scene. Like
I mean, I
that's
still to this day, I feel like Man of Steel is the best movie the DCU ever put out. And which is kind of insane to think. Just like the first Iron Man movie is still one of the top 3 movies that MCU has ever put out. It's like they
yeah,
just are both like have that and similar, which is crazy to think that
yeah,
this long after, especially the MCU with over 30 movies, they just it's still one of the top 3 movies is the very first one they made.
right.
So, but anyway,
So
where would you put it?
if I had to put it anywhere, unlike Superman Returns, where I feel like the ingredients are there to be a good movie, I don't think the ingredients are here for Man of Steel. I just don't think it's a very good movie, despite some good scenes and some decent performances. So with that, I got to put it in C tier. It's not quite as horrendous as Superman 3 and 4, but it's not as like at least kind of enjoyable like Superman 2 and Superman Returns are. So then now we get to BVS. This is a movie that's like a Frankenstein's monster. Even the Ultimate Edition. It's like
There's a
everyone
lot
says
going
like
on in that movie. There's just a
I mean,
lot
everyone
going
says like
on.
Superman
Yeah.
2025 has too much going on. This I feel like had you could make 7 different movies from all the
I
plot
wouldn't say
lines in this
7,
movie.
but yes, I could say you could make 3 or 4. There were definitely
Like
3
it's
or
like
4
it's you have
movies
like
worth of
Death of
stories in there.
Superman, you have the whole Clark Kent thing, you have the Lex Luthor thing, you have the
Doomsday.
Wally thing, you have this,
Yeah.
that, and the other, and you have the Batman thing. It's just like it's a lot.
Yep.
And it's just like at least with Superman, like you care and there is some moments to breathe. This I just feel like it's kind of like what the ending of Man of Steel was an onslaught to the senses. In some ways, it's better than Man of Steel. In some ways, it's worse. I feel like for me personally, Superman is way more mopey in this movie than in Man of Steel. Man of
Oh,
Steel,
way more. Way
he
more.
had like a glimmer in his eye. This one
Yes,
is like you have
absolutely.
like, oh,
I was
nobody stays
surprised
good
they
in
went
this
in this
world.
direction. Yeah.
Superman was never real. Like,
Yep.
what the fuck are you talking about? Like, what?
I mean, for me, like in this movie, I feel like the acting is mostly good. There's some really glaring flaws in this film, because like the Martha moment still I've tried to reconcile that in my mind as a fan of this movie, and I've never been able to
No,
make
you
that
just
work.
can't make it
So
work.
it's just there's just no reason. I literally wrote editorials and wrote like, all kinds of like I have done work on this movie, literary work on this movie, and I could never justify what I
Yeah.
get why
If
they
you want to
did
see
it,
a good version of the Martha
but
scene, just watch Sonic 3.
yeah,
Like that's like the Martha scene done right, essentially. But yeah,
yeah,
BVS, a
I
lot of it
enjoyed
is
it.
going on. I think it had too much going on. I think this was a clash of visions. Zack Snyder clearly wanted to do something, and as well as Goyer and Terrio wanted to do stuff, but then there was a lot of stuff
I
from
don't think Goyer was
WB.
as involved with this one. It was more so
No, he
Terrio
wasn't,
and
but like
Snyder was.
he
Yeah.
was he still did technically co-write the movie. Um, but like I feel like there was a lot of mandates from WB. Oh, call it Dawn of Justice. You have to have Batman in it. You have to make it a
Mhm.
cinematic universe. Da, 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 da.
Remember they
All this
delayed it
other
by a
stuff.
year because
Yeah.
like Zack Snyder was like, I need more time to complete my vision, which because they showed us the trailer, was it the Comic-Con trailer at Comic-Con, then they said we're pushing it back by a year. And that gave, I think, Marvel enough time to go and work on what was going to be Serpent Society turned into Civil War and then ended up
Actually, it wasn't
outgrossing
Serpent
BVS.
Society. That was the fake out thing for Civil War. What originally was going to be, it was going to be Captain America and Falcon fighting berserker zombies activated by the Mad Bomb. That's what that movie was going to be.
Oh
But
my god,
then
really? Dang.
because this got delayed, they eventually went to Robert Downey Jr. like, "Hey, can you do this movie?" And they're like,
It's a
he's
really
like,
good
"Yeah,
point,
sure."
enterprising, yeah.
So, that's what eventually happened with that. But yeah, if he said no, they were going to go with the original idea of like against the Mad Bomb, which I think is a Jack Kirby story.
Yeah.
But yeah, so before I blabber on a little bit too much, I'm gonna put BVS. It's above Man of Steel, but it's still like, again, it's kind of like Superman Returns, where it's like it's kind of in between B and C a little bit. But I won't include more stuff for the sake of the rest of the tier list. Superman Returns just does a
Yeah, he
little bit
basically
better
said
for me, but
Owlman was Batman. I mean, Zack Snyder wanted to do a Batman movie long before he got a chance to do any
yeah.
DC stuff.
Um,
Well, Watchmen included.
Yeah. But then we get to the final movie. Before I filibuster too long, I'm just gonna insert it right here. I think it's a more complete
Where did you put
version.
it? Where did you put it?
I put it in
In
B
B.
tier.
Okay, got it.
It's not as good as Superman 2, but it's slightly better than Superman Returns. It feels the most complete and the most like a movie out of the three Zack Snyder movies. I still don't like that it's 4 hours fucking long. It took me like a week to watch the damn thing. I get
I
why.
did it
It
over the
still
course of 2 nights.
sucks.
I couldn't sit through it all at one time either. Like, and I'm a fan
It,
of the
it
movie,
I
but
mean,
I
and even then it was paced horribly. There was too much going on.
like there
It's
were I
still
thought there was a good 20 minutes you could have cut out of it. 20 to 30
You could have
minutes.
cut
Like,
out like,
yeah.
but he's like, all right, fine. You fucked over my vision and hired Joss Whedon. Give me another hour. And they're like,
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
I don't care what I hate the nightmare shit. I hate it so much. I hate that whole sequence. Not only is the CGI terrible, but it's like you have like just like fuck Jared Leto. I fucking hate Jared Leto as the Joker. I don't like, all my friends are like, oh, he's so good. This is what the Joker should. I'm like, this Joker sucks. What are you talking about? Like, he was just so terrible. And it's clearly like try hard Joker. It's like, I'm trying so hard to be funny, and it's just like it doesn't work.
It just
But
some of
like
that
for the
stuff
most
wasn't
part, it's
needed.
pretty good.
It's
It's
yeah.
just kind of forgettable. Like it's fine. It's just like this movie that was like built up for 4 years. Like, oh my god, the illustrious Snyder cut, and it's like it's fine. It's like okay. It's like it's like a mid range like MCU movie to me. It's like, but like
Yeah.
darker and more pseudo intellectual crap and more slow motion. Like that's kind of what it is for me. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's my tier
Yeah.
list anyway of technically two movies that are not Superman movies. So there's that.
Well, they have Superman in them. I mean, and as a starring character, so
They
I
don't
guess it
count.
counts. Dude, Superman's in the title of Batman v Superman, and then also, of course, he's a big part of. He should have been a bigger part of that movie, but he was still a part of it. But I say that Justice League, of course.
But
Okay,
anyway,
so
I tried
yeah,
my best to try to keep it short, but that's how it be.
okay, so that Flash sequence was one of the best things in a
It
comic
was
book movie
cool.
ever.
Yeah, it was
I
cool.
agree with you on that. And it was Enterprising's favorite film of all the Snyder movies in the DCEU. So there you go. Yeah, that whole dream scene in BVS was completely. I think he probably would have liked to have paid it off, but obviously Zack Snyder
It would
probably
have been
he
paid
had
off
he
in
had to
2
make
and 3
choices
if
with the money that he
those
was
were
given.
made.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for doing the BVS, not BVS, but the Snyder cut of Justice League. Okay, so now let's do my version of the tier list, shall we? Because Now, John, this is where I think we will differ a little bit. So, oh my God, get all these ads out of here. We're going to use this version. This is a lot cleaner. So, going all the way to the top, and I know, John, you kind of almost skipped over Superman because you just did it at the very top. Moving on, but I'm going to go from the oldest to the newest. And
that's what I was going to do. And then you said
no, I said do the oldest to the newest. Okay, all right, hold on. You can add your comments when we get to the Superman into the 2025 Superman. Yeah, look, as far as Angelica is saying, as with not having Wonder Woman in the movie, would have given more room for Superman and Batman to have their story be told. So I again, it was, and that I think was the mandates from Warner Brothers, just again wanting to set up directly 3 other movies and sequels and spin-offs and set up a Justice League movie. And ultimately, I think it was too much going on too soon in a movie that felt too long. Well, actually, in theaters didn't feel long enough because it cut out 30 minutes. But even with 30 minutes added back in, like you were saying, it probably was 3 movies worth of movies in one movie. So, which I think is a very succinct way to describe Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. Even the title is 3 movies: Batman, Superman, Dawn of Justice. There should have been 3 separate movies in an ideal world, because Dawn of Justice could have been the Trinity coming together. Batman should have gotten his own movie. Superman should have got a Man of Steel too. So, but anyway, right? And Doomsday, and then the fact they revealed it in the trailers. Okay, let's get back to talking about my tier list. So I know you guys, by the way, just a quick reminder, you guys are welcome to go into the live chat. We pinned the tier list there, so you can go in and vote for yourself. I know some of you already have. If you're watching after the fact, we will put the tier list link in the description of the video, because essentially this poll is going to be up for another week, basically from today. So right now, if I go look at it when we're doing the show live, there's 6 days, almost 7 days left in that poll. So next week, when we do Tier List Tuesday, we're going to go back and look at the results. So let's keep going, shall we? The very first one, of course, for me, like it was for you, John, Superman and the Mole Men. That's the very first theatrical Superman movie. Like you said, it was more or less a TV pilot turned into a movie. George Reeve, the very first theatrical Superman for the big screen. I mean, the effects don't quite hold up, but they still pioneered some VFX at a time when digital VFX didn't exist. So they had to do it in camera. And if you look up some of the techniques they used to show George Reeve flying, and then also, I don't know, John, if you mentioned this, in this movie, George Reeve goes, whenever he's flying, he turns into an animated Superman. Then he lands, and so the transitions were actually really well done from a VFX standpoint. So I think this movie was good for its time, and people, again, it's one of those things remember when people watch the very first movies ever made, the very first film reels, going from not having even a concept of movies. I don't know, John, if you remember, if your film school history class, where they would talk about how all they were doing is filming, a camera on a tripod, filming a train going by and people walking to and from work, and you put it in a theater, and people were going wild. Like, is this train gonna run at us?
Like the train was gonna hit them.
Yeah. So, and I'm not saying this Superman movie was that equivalent to, I'm just saying it's an analogy that this Superman movie came out at a time when superhero movies really didn't exist. So on that level, it was important for its time, and I think it was a good first film. It's not remembered as anything terrible, and I think the VFX, like Superman the movie in 1978, were pretty pioneering for their time. However, will put this one in the C list, mostly because, again, doesn't quite hold up to the level of quality that we expect today, and some of its redeeming qualities, like the VFX of the time and all those things, account for the C. So it's not in D, it's in C. Then we get into Superman the movie, the Christopher Reeve version, which I, for one, think this movie is still, a top 3 Superman movie ever. And Kevin Feige loves it. Kevin Feige looks at this as the best origin story. It is it's also considered probably the definitive superhero movie by people who love Marvel and DC. In the George Reeve era, who do you prefer, Lois? Phyllis Coates or Noel Neal? Honestly, I haven't gone back and watched enough of it to give you an opinion. Movie Spud, you tell us, which one do you prefer? Because I wouldn't be able to, pick either way, because it's been so long since I've, gone back and watched that era of Superman. It's like John said, you have to find it on Dailymotion. I don't even think it's available on HBO Max. But as far as nailing that version of the character, George Reeve did a good job. So everyone wanted to kill this little guy. See, I know, right? Exactly. Yes. George Reeves Superman stood up for them. Well, and that's what Superman is. So okay, but talking about Christopher Reeve, John, I think I'd be doing Christopher Reeve a disservice if I did not put this movie in the S tier, because this movie is considered one of, if not the best Superman movie of all time. For me, it's not my favorite, but that's my personal opinion. But it's still, I can acknowledge. I mean, just the soundtrack alone. One of you guys was mentioning it has one of the best opening sequences of all time. So I really can't, not put it at the very top. Have you all seen the rumors that DC is looking at Andrew Garfield for a Flash? I did see that earlier today. I didn't bring it into the show because I don't really trust the source. If more than one, source kind of picks it up, more than one of these scoopers, then we'll talk about it. So up until something like that happens, I don't think it's worth a discussion. But Andrew Garfield's a great actor. If he wants to be the Flash, sure, why not? But it would just depend again.
I love how they're like,
oh,
let's get the guy, let's get Grant Gustin, but the guy who's an A-lister. Like, he's essentially just Grant Gustin. He looks the same, acts the same.
I mean, and you know what? James Gunn and Peter
Safran.
In one of the interviews that James Gunn was doing for Superman, promoting the movie recently, he was talking about like, why is the Superman, like, why is the DC Studios intro so simple? And like, it's not like the big, it doesn't have the big orchestral music and the fanfare and the animation that the Marvel Studios logo had. Up until recently, Marvel Studios, like, every like they don't have anything like that. And it was basically James Gunn was like, well, Peter was cheap. He's like, do we need to do this? Because how much is it going to cost? And James Gunn was like, oh, it's going to cost like 10 million. So I that's not the number that he said. Something to that effect. He said it was in the millions of dollars. And Peter was like, I don't think we need to do we need to do that? And James was like, no, we could just go with this. And so in Superman,
honestly,
there's no music. It's so like, simple. And it almost feels like, out of place.
And then you just have boom, and then honestly, it's better. Like, why do I need like a 10-minute fucking sequence showcasing every Marvel movie to ever exist? And like, bum, 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 bum. It's like, all right, bro. It's like the new THX. It's like, calm down. It's the Marvels.
Blows your ears out before the movie starts.
Anyway. Yeah. It's just like, it's too much. Like, the original one with the pages was good, like the one that's still technically used for Sony, where it's just like this pages. It's like Marvel Studios. That was way better. Like, I hate the new one.
That's the most iconic, I think, intro to any superhero like studio. So to this day, I do hope they adapt the Hans Zimmer Wonder Woman theme and
without the chanting. Like,
no, we don't need
Dune chanting where it was like.
That was
Wonder Woman shows up.
Right. No, but that wasn't Hans Zimmer. That was Junkie XL in the Zack Snyder version, right? That was that. Hans Zimmer didn't do that. I don't put separate Hans Zimmer from that completely. Superman 2, like Chili Chimp is saying, is an excellent movie. It's the highest rated one on Rotten Tomatoes. It's 88%, whereas Superman the movie is 86%. So now, of course, the new Superman 2025 comes in at 83%, I believe. So becoming the third highest ranked. As far as what Movie Spud was saying, Coates was only in the movie in the first season of the show. Neil is very good, but I think Coates is slightly better. There you go. I have to go back and watch it over to see if I agree with your take, but I'm glad that you gave us yours. Coates seems to be the better pick for the George Reeve version. But I mean, look, Margot Kidder became everyone's favorite Lois Lane, and if you grew up watching that Superman, you had a crush on Margot Kidder. Looking back, it's like the whole iconic scene of I've got you, Mr. Lane. You've got me. Then who's got you? Like, the whole sequence is she nailed what Lois Lane is all about. And Rachel Brosnahan is basing her take on it quite a bit. Superman 2 overall, I think, a better movie, only by a slight margin than Superman, but still, this first one is so iconic that I think, for me, Superman 2 goes in the A tier. Not quite at the same level as the first one, and just the intangible aspects of the movie. I think that this plot was a little more polished. They were able to work on the VFX a bit more and clean things up. But just the wonder of the first Superman movie, you'll believe a man can fly. 1978. That's when we first got to see that.
I would say the next time we should do like best James Gunn movies.
I think it's a good idea. I was also going to talk about.
I would say best James Gunn Superman movies, because I have a huge doubt that you've seen stuff like Slither and Tromeo and Juliet and shit like that, or like Scooby Doo. Like, let's.
Yep.
I would say
we could also. we could also do like best Superman actors. I mean, dude. There's a whole list of ideas we have got
Well, the
tucked
thing is,
away.
I haven't
So
seen many Superman actors. I've seen Tyler Hoechlin, David Corenswet, Henry Cavill, and Christopher Reeve, and that's it. Like, if we're unless like we're
I've
including
seen
like
Dean Cain and Tom Welling, and who else do we? I mean, obviously George Reeves
George
we've been talking
Reeves,
about.
Kirk Allen.
I mean, you
If you
guys can fill
count,
in the chat. Let us know.
I
You
mean,
guys can fill in the gaps for
and if
us.
you
That
count
we
the
can do that.
Superboy show, then those two actors as well, Gerard Christopher and the other guy.
Yeah.
Um,
Chuck
but
Cage in
yeah,
the chat. Hello, Chuck Cage. You're joining us a little bit late, but that's all right because we're still doing our tier list. We are talking about all the different Superman movies. We have been ranking. I think there's 10 total feature length movies that were theatrically released. So we're not counting animated movies, just the live action ones, all the way back from George Reeve to David Cornsweet. So including the ones that Superman was, in a team up with, like the Justice League movie and Batman v Superman. Well, the Watcher thinks the Suicide Squad and Volume 2 of Guardians of the Galaxy are his favorites, along with Superman. I think that's a good point. You know what we should do? We should do James Gunn's superhero movies, and we could include Brightburn in there too.
yeah.
That's
Well, I
probably
haven't
the way to
seen
go.
Brightburn, so
I think I remember seeing it. I don't know. Maybe we'll have to do some homework on that. King Dingaling, best username in the chat. Tom Welling technically wasn't Superman; he was Clark. You know what? I guess he'd become Superman by the end, right? He's got the shirt. We don't quite see him become Superman, but anyway, Tim Daly will always be my Superman. There you go. See, the diversity of opinions in the chat is what we're here for. But Superman 3, dude, I agree with you 100%. Where did you put him? I think you put him in what, C?
I put him in D. No, I put him in D tier.
D? Okay, I'm gonna agree with you, D. That's probably one of the. And you know what? On that front, I don't even need to think about it too hard. Quest for Peace. If there was a tier lower than D, I would have put it there. But
I mean, we could add F tier into it. Like we could, like if you want to, eventually we could add F tier.
We'll think about that's we'll put that in beta mode later. But I think right now, Superman Quest for Peace firmly D. Those two, look, they were so bad. Superman Returns completely ignored their existence. I mean, there's a reason why. Patrick asking, do you think Superman will pick up at the box office in the second weekend? That's a good question. I don't know if you really addressed that in detail the other day, John. But as far as where things are now,
we'll see.
Well, do you think the odds are good? Actually, I saw an article in Deadline the other day talking about they expect Superman to be doing roughly around 60 million at the second weekend. I know we're not really doing a bunch of news here, but let me see if I can quickly pull this in because I did see that. I'll see if I can find the article. Of course, these are all estimates, so they're expecting Superman to make roughly 60 million in a second weekend. If it makes less than that, that's fine. I mean, 125 million. If it makes around 60, would be half of what it made in this opening weekend, which is still a really good number because that would be roughly 50%, some odd, down from the first weekend. In fact, I think it was in the Hollywood Reporter. Let me see if I can pull that in real quick, and then we'll get back to the tier list. James Gunn's, previous two best second weekend drops were 56% for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, and then Volume 3 dropped 48%. So, and then the Batman, which is another comparison, only dropped 50%. So by that measure, with Superman doing as well as it has with the critics and audiences, they're expecting Superman to have roughly a 50% decline in its second weekend and roughly bring in 62.5 million, which is literally half of what it made in its opening weekend. So that's, to answer your question, that's where we think it might end up. But going back to the tier list for the moment, talking about Superman Returns, do you know what I really liked about Superman Returns? We've talked about this before. Is that that century goth? Like, how would you describe it? This Art Deco aesthetic of the set design. In some places, it feels almost like this Superman could live in the same world as Michael Keaton's Batman. And yet, obviously, like you said, the movie ultimately, the biggest problem was, for a movie made by Bryan Singer, the guy who made those X-Men movies, some of the best X-Men movies ever, I don't know how he managed to make a boring Superman movie, right? And one of the worst things you can say about a movie or any piece of art, especially like when you're talking about, telling stories, is call it boring. I'd rather be really terrible. Like, I'd rather be Madam Web kind of bad than be boring. I mean, not to mention they had Cyclops in there. But
yeah, two pedophiles for the price of one.
Just missed the mark in so many ways. Enterprising saying Superman, the current one, is making quite a bit of money in its Monday, which, if it does well on a Monday, which, like you said, I do believe is doing really well, that's a good sign, and that's what we want to see, because the movie needs to make up a lot of ground during the midweek days as well as in the second weekend, because then Fantastic Four drops and Superman will have a much harder time making money then. So we don't currently have, I think, official numbers for Monday. But
bro, X2 and Days of Future Past are still some of the greatest superhero movies of all time. I have no idea what crack you're smoking. Like X-Men, the first one's a little dated, and X-Men Apocalypse isn't all that great, but like come on. Days of Future Past, X-Men 2, like it was okay, here's the thing. I watched X2 only a couple of years ago. I wasn't I had not seen the original trilogy of X-Men movies until way later. I saw them maybe 2-3 years ago, maybe 3 or 4 years ago. Like I had lit next to nothing, because I've heard some people say they're amazing, some people say they're not. When I watched them, I was like blown away with how fucking good they were. I didn't even hate Last Stand that much. I was blown away with how good mainly X2 was. X2, X-Men United. I was blown away with how good that movie was. And that's saying as someone who did not grow up with those movies, who did not, no nostalgia goggles.
X-Men, the third one was terrible. Everything else
was
good.
Blown away. Brian Cox, so fucking good. That was X2 is an excellent movie. Like you still have so many people to this
Chili
day.
Chimp is coming after you, man. That's great.
You have so many people to this day that say X2 is a phenomenal movie. Last Stand, you could tell it's like two movies stitched together. Like it's.
I think Last Stand is one of the worst
and the
X-Men
Dark
movies.
Phoenix plot, and they're
too much.
Nightcrawler.
X2. Yep.
So fucking good.
And there's a reason why they're bringing him back, is because of literally that sequence being so iconic that Alan Cummings coming back to play Nightcrawler again. So yeah, I mean that is one of the most iconic. Here's the thing:
if those original X-Men movies sucked and nobody cared about them, then why the fuck are they bringing all these people back for fucking Secret Wars and Doomsday?
But getting back to Superman Returns for a moment, I do agree with Enterprising's take. Like again, there was growing up watching Superman Returns, I was like, I don't understand what's going on. It's like this Superman is just always thinking and like not that what is he just moping around? I mean, okay. And then what they did in BVS was a different kind of moping around, where Superman was like, my world is gone, or whatever Henry Cavill says, which I thought was really dark for a Superman to say. But in Superman Returns, I just didn't understand the whole like he's been gone for a while. I think they were asking the audiences to make too big of a leap. Still, it's not as bad as Superman 3 and 4, and I do believe is better for me, Superman Returns, than Superman and the Mole Men. So I would put it in B, which I think is really where you put it too, John.
Yeah.
Now we get back to Henry Cavill. Henry Cavill is my favorite Superman, and Man of Steel is my favorite Superman movie. I think when we talk about Superman, a lot of the key issues that people have, I feel like I'm on the opposite end of the spectrum in a lot of ways. I think outside of a few things, like, because not every movie is perfect, so I do address the fact that that whole sequence where they're just fighting in Metropolis at the end with Zod and Henry Cavill, they could have cut it down a little bit, and I just thought at one point it just was like just a lot of gray. There was no color. You couldn't really tell what was going on some of the times because like the action just felt a bit mindless on occasion. And then Superman, like, jumping out of the way of a tanker that blew up a building. I'm like, dude, stop the tanker. Like, there's some problems that I have with it. But as far as like, how they explored the character of Kal-El and, Clark Kent growing up, I don't mind the non-linear storytelling because I love Christopher Nolan and I love the way he does things. And to me, like today, I still watch the Man of Steel back at least a few times a year. So to me, Man of Steel is, while like I said, Superman and Man of Steel are two very different movies. The one that we have right now in movie theaters versus Henry Cavill. Michael Shannon is still to this day and might forever be a top 5 comic book movie villain ever. Even when the DCEU was like, ablaze with terrible films and bad reviews and not in a box office, we all remember saying the villains that DC has are still better than what Marvel produces because at least they're really memorable. And Michael Shannon, I think he did not get the credit he deserved because he should have gotten an Oscar nomination for how well he played Zod in that movie.
Oh, let's not get crazy here, but he was great. He was pretty great.
I'm gonna say it. I mean, they gave if they can give Ryan Gosling a Best Supporting Actor nominee for and thank you, Patrick, for I think Frankie G agrees with me too. But yeah, look, underrated. Yes, it's also about like there were 5 better performances at the Oscars that year. And you know what? Henry Cavill, I feel like, deserved better. Plus, I know some of you guys agree with me when I say that Russell Crowe is probably the best Jor-El we have gotten. And I
That's a low
personally,
bar.
it's fair enough, but I don't care about the comparison. I'm just saying Russell Crowe did a fantastic job. And we overall just got a really fleshed out. We've been talking about Lara Loren, Isla Azur, and I just wish they gave us more of that Krypton. Because like this version of Krypton was just so like well thought out. Like there was a reason for everything, for the crest, for the way they dressed and everything. It was a little too monotonous, and I felt like when I read the concept art book that I still have, that I grew up loving, I felt like some of what we saw in the movie, it was either underdeveloped in the sense that, again, Zack Snyder kind of like just had this color grade that really made everything feel just too dark at times, or too colorless, or too punchy to the point where you're losing detail.
Looks like Navi pissed on the lens. It's just so gray.
Yeah, I'm like, you are creating these fantastic worlds. Let us see more of it. But I will say one of the positive things about Man of Steel for me, as far as Krypton was, I think it's the most it's the most comprehensive on-screen portrayal of Krypton, but also it left me wanting to see more of that Krypton than ever before, to the point where, remember when Krypton, the TV show on Sci-Fi,
it was launched? Supposed to be a prequel, but then they're like,
fuck it, we're just gonna
like, no, it's our own thing now.
I so wish they continued on in the direction where it and eventually ended up lining up with Man of Steel, but nonetheless, I personally tend to like Amy Adams' Lois Lane more than most people. I still think she wasn't the best Lois Lane in terms of what the quintessential comic book iteration is, and what we're getting with Rachel Brosnahan, what Margot Kidder was.
Boring. She was just really boring.
I mean, boring. She was still, a good journalist. I really loved the way she played the nuances of the story.
It's just like, it feels like they just had Bradley Cooper because they're like, okay, we're never going to use Jor-El again. So, look, cameo. So,
Yep. I that show, man,
I think
ended up
was
too early.
Show.
It was just too early. They ended that show too early. It was the script. Like, again, Chili Chip, I agree with you there that the script didn't do her any favors. Actress, so she's an Oscar caliber actress. I mean, not to mention she's working with Diane Lane as Ma Kent before we get to the whole Martha situation.
But I feel like the thing with Amy Adams, like, I don't like. It's just like I still feel she was kind of miscast. It's the problem with Amy Adams. I'm not like she hasn't played like grungy, darker characters before. It's like I listen to her voice, I'm like, she's too soft spoken to be like a no bullshit like investigative reporter. Like, I like listening to Rachel Brosnahan or Margot Kidder. They have like this like grungy kind of like don't fuck with me kind of voice of like get the fuck out of my way. I need to get this story, and if you don't, I will deck you kind of vibe. And that's what kind of Lois Lane was earlier on, at least. And I feel like it's just like she's like, oh, I'm gonna get the story. I'm Amy Adams. Oh, like it's just like I listen to like also, I see Enchanted.
Yeah.
Like, oh, looking at the birds. I'm a Disney princess. Like it's just like that's the vibe I get from her.
I mean, there were moments where she. I get that. There were moments where she's arguing with Lawrence Fishburne's Perry White, which I thought was really well cast, and you start to see a little bit of that that not sassiness, but like she's really steadfast and like determined to do her thing. But yeah, I just thought like Zack Snyder maybe overdid it with the color grade, and then in some ways, like I said, there was too much action in some places. Although when we first see Superman fighting in Smallville, to this day, some of the best Superman action shot. And in terms of, again, I like it when a hard sci-fi movie is like trying to follow the laws of physics. When the Kryptonians move, they move that fast, and like they will probably splatter like other humans on the wall with like if they're tossing them at the speed that they are. Christopher Meloni also is that his name? The one from SCVU. He's playing one of the
Chris Meloni. Yeah,
Chris Meloni. I thought he was one of the more underrated parts of that movie. Some of the dialogue is good, like good death is its own reward, and like, they've set it up and they pay it off. So there was stuff like that I always enjoy from a screenwriting perspective. As far as Amy Adams goes overall, look, again, you see her here. There's a similarity between Amy Adams and Henry Cavill in the sense that she wanted to play Amy Adams wanted to play Lois Lane in Superman Returns. And so she kind of like almost like she really like gunned for the idea, pardon the pun, to get the role when Man of Steel was being cast, and Henry Cavill
Yeah,
had
because I know
screen
there were
tested for 2 previous
bunch of
Superman movies.
other. I
So
think Mila Kunis and Zoe
yeah,
Saldana were like
yep.
the forerunners, and I'm like,
Mhm.
oh no, that would have been way worse. I could kind of see Zoe Saldana, but I can't.
Yeah.
I just like Amy Adams. I just don't see. I see Amy Adams. I don't see Lois Lane. So
Yeah. Hey, Josea's here. I think Man of Steel is very much of its time back then. The look and feel and making of Soups cool was needed. Some of the writing is poor, but it's a cool movie. I agree with you on the cool aspect of it, like making Superman like less of a Boy Scout and more edgy, which was very much, in vogue back then, which is why I think they probably brought in Zack Snyder. In part also because, he had done a Watchmen movie. He was a safer bet. He had done 300. He was like, he can make a good movie. And Christopher Nolan, obviously being a producer, they're friends. So, he was like, he can do this. And although Christopher Nolan ultimately ended up like not being as involved, and he was against the whole neck snapping at the end. I mean,
yeah.
look, you have
I mean,
probably
according
the
to
most
David S.
A-lister
Goyer,
parents of,
they wanted Tony Scott to direct it, but he
yeah,
killed himself before they could do that. So they settled for Zack Snyder. So
yeah. I also think like the backstory that they gave to Clark, especially at the end, he was like, I wish he was here to see it, and he's like, he did. Like, remember, he's like, before the whole, what are you gonna do when you're not saving the world? They're having that conversation at the end of the movie. He's like, he did see it, and then they kind of swing back to like, him in the red cape, and I was like, it's just there was something poetic about Man of Steel's writing. I mean, yes, it wasn't perfect in every aspect, but I still look back at it, and like Hans Zimmer's score is the most introspective Superman score we've ever gotten, and the suit, I love the suit. I think this suit is better than the one we got in BVS. They kind of went in the wrong direction. Also, slicking his hair back way too much. But I mean, Kevin Costner, Russell Crowe, Michael Shannon, Diane Lane, just the parentage of Superman was given the most A-list treatment it's ever been given, or probably ever will be, to be fair. And Ancha Trow like playing a great Fara Ul, and just the Kryptonians that we got were like way more fleshed out than the ones that we got back in Christopher Reeve's era. I can talk about this movie all day. I'm just gonna like go back to the rankings because I feel like otherwise we'll be here all night. So where I put it, I think for me, because it is my favorite, and this is a very subjective list, and you guys are doing your own. John did his. I'll put it on the same tier as Superman 1978. So that just for me. And again, Hans Zimmer's score, like, what are you going to do when you're not saving the world? Have you given any thought to that? He's like, I have actually. I have to get a job where I could keep my ear to the ground and go someplace dangerous where people are not going to bat an eye, ask questions, and like the thing picks up, and and it stings into the credits. It's the whole thing that they did with The Dark Knight with Christopher Nolan. You could tell like they were trying to do something similar. And like walking out of that movie, I know one of you guys asked earlier, I think Steven, you asked, did you see this movie in theaters? Man of Steel, I saw in theaters on preview day. Like I had a special early screening pass from Walmart, I think, for whatever reason. I think Walmart was doing that back then, not Amazon, because Amazon wasn't really as big as it is today. And I loved it. I saw it multiple times. I watch it multiple times every year. So yeah, I mean, Emily Blunt could have been a good option as well back then. So, and they've had so many good actresses play Lois Lane. So like you said, they're enterprising. Yeah, and Henry Cavill wasn't a very well known actor at the time either. Like kind of similar to David Cornsweet. He had done a few things, but he wasn't the most well known actor out there. But he was determined. He had screen tested for Superman Flyby. He was in the running when Brandon Routh got Superman Returns. So when he finally got the role, I mean, it must have felt good for him. Now moving on to BVS, Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. It has a lot of problems. Like we talked about, there's like 3 movies in one. I still enjoy a lot of the fight sequences. I do think they went really too dark for the way they portrayed Superman in this movie, because I feel like about how far they pushed him in Man of Steel to like this darker introspective Superman is about as far as you should have gone before going back towards the iconic iteration. But then in BVS, I think Zack Snyder just went way too hard with some of his ideas that he had, and despite the fact that he gave us one of the best Batmobiles, and I think like I remember back when the reviews came out, some of the best things about the movie people were saying were Ben Affleck's Batman, and they weren't really talking very highly about all the supporting characters or anything like that. But Henry Cavill, everybody was saying he didn't give him enough to do. The Daily Planet was a fraction of its known self, and Perry White, all he was saying in the movie was crime in Gotham, water, wet. That's all they boiled his character down to. I wanted to see more of the Daily Planet. So, I mean, the Ultimate Cut was a lot better because they added in 30 minutes that made the story work, because without it, it just seemed like an incomplete movie, quite frankly. but I honestly feel like, BVS still gets more hate than it should. Where I would put it, John, is probably going to be in the same tier as Superman Returns. At least it's not boring. If Superman Returns goes in B for being boring, then I mean, BVS is better than that. Still, they shouldn't have released the trailer with Doomsday in it. That was too much of a spoiler. The best part of BVS was the Batman. Exactly. The worst part of it was Superman in a lot of ways. So I do agree with you on that. Although the choices and
I don't
the
know. I think the
plan of
worst
Lex
part was
Luthor.
Doomsday looking like a fucking cave troll from Lord of the Rings. Yet
Yeah.
somehow the CGI was worse.
Yeah, Lex Luthor looked very. I mean, they went for a comic iteration, accurate iteration of Lex Luthor, but he felt at times almost too much like a Joker. And again, some of the plan that he put into action felt like, I don't know, man. I think Jesse Eisenberg went over the top with the whole like, the red capes are coming, and Granny's peach tea and all that stuff.
I mean, I think he has his moments. It's like I wish
Yeah.
just the menacing eked out a bit more than like the
Yes.
like the weird stuttering autistic vibe that he went for.
Yeah, killing Jimmy Olsen was also a cardinal sin that they should not have done.
Yes, and I think like when she blocks the license for him to import the kryptonite, you can see like the fury of Lex Luthor, and that's that's the type of shit I wanted to see more of, and clearly it was there. And I didn't mind the idea of like a facade of Lex Luthor where he's like this weird, like hokey kind of billionaire kind of guy, like an Elon Musk type, but like it's still and that would have been fine. It's just like I wish there was more balance than like so much hokey and then like only a little bit of menacing,
Yeah. I personally also love the introduction. I remember how epic the introduction of Wonder Woman was. Like the music hits, and she's like the whole Junkie XL score, and then it's like the whole
that score goes
you?
hard.
I thought she was with you.
It's a good score.
It's so good. It's honestly is still to this day one of the top 5, top 10 character themes ever put together, and the best thing Junkie XL ever contributed to the DCEU. So and Gal Gadot, in my opinion, was well cast for that iteration of Wonder Woman for what she was asked to do. I think she did the job, and quite frankly, she did action better than most other actresses would have, and that's why Zack Snyder brought him in. I still have these versions of the posters. The marketing for this went hard, and quite frankly, when it comes down to it, to this day, this is the highest grossing DC movie outside of Aquaman in the DCEU. And which makes it I think it's still in the top 5 of highest grossing DC movies ever, right? Because like you have The Dark Knight Rises at the very top. The Dark Knight, I don't know which one is at the top. They're both $1 billion movies. Actually, no. Then Aquaman is at the very top. Then you have Joker, and then you have BVS, I believe. So yeah, BVS still like the 5th highest grossing, maybe. So it's up there, and it made quite a bit of money. And despite what people will tell you, it was barely profitable. But Zack Snyder's Justice League, look, we've talked about it. There's a lot of problems in the movie, but it still ended up feeling like a lot better version of the movie than what we got in the theaters. I feel like the best version of that Justice League movie was somewhere between what we got on HBO Max, the 4-hour cut, and some of what we have, got in the theatrical version. Actually, mostly what I feel like they should have cut out like half an hour from the 4-hour version that we got on streaming. Still, I remember being really happy to see like, yeah, they were going back to it, and I just thought that some of the Joker stuff, like you mentioned with Jared Leto, was not needed, and Zack Snyder did not need to do all those setups. And then the Messianic Martyr Superman, I do like the black and white suit, the silver suit. I also love the CGI that they had in that movie for Steppenwolf. And Superman had some of the best moments. I can only imagine how well it would have played the whole not impressed moment when Superman finally shows up in the final battle. This sequence, was shortchanged in theaters, but then when we got it in the streaming version, it was a lot better. The Flash, it's not a Superman related thing, but that whole time travel piece, one of the best executed pieces in all of superhero comic book history. And I think they made Superman, the right power level, and also, despite the fact that they kind of retconned the fact that he was powerful enough. They were like building up to the dark side. I'm like, this Superman can like
Yeah, but
beat
the
up
thing is, all the other fucking
Darkseid.
Justice League members are chumps now because it's like
That's
they
true.
couldn't defeat
That's true.
Steppenwolf, and then Superman comes in and fucking yeets the fucker across the fourth world, and it's like
They were holding him. They were holding him down. You know, they couldn't finish the job, and then they needed Superman. I feel like they made the whole teamwork part of it, that final battle, look better. It felt more like connected once Zack Snyder, got put the footage back in that he had shot versus what we had, gotten in the theatrical version, where it made it even worse. The email Justice League intro was awful in BVS. I agree with you. That was not needed. Maybe they should have done it as a post-credit scene at best. It just kind of like destroys the momentum in the middle of the movie. And obviously, for the ladies and the gents who prefer to see Henry Cavill without a shirt, I think we got plenty of that. But again, there's a lot of moments in that movie that I feel like they should have either cut away, because that nobody needs a 4-hour film. I think like even the Peter Jackson Lord of the Ring movies don't need to be 4 hours long. There's no need.
Calm down.
There's no need.
Let's talk
Nope,
crazy.
there's no need. I'll fight you over that. But anyway, BVS, not BVS. We're talking about Zack Snyder's Justice League. I don't know, guys. Where would you put it? You tell me in the chat, because I'm kind of leaning between B and A for me. I feel like it was an improvement on BVS. To put it in the same tier as Superman 2, it feels. I don't know. What do you think, John?
I think for you, I think you should put it in A.
Yeah. You know what? I'm gonna put it in A. Yeah. I go with Frankie, and Movie Spot saying B. I'll put it in A based on the logic for the other ones. Calm down, Dan. I'm calm. I'm calm now. I am calm. Sorry, Chili Chump. Sorry I riled you up. I agree with you, though. Superman only being mostly there in the third act was a bit of a problem. I do feel like we got more of Henry Cavill in that movie with Zack Snyder's version than what we got in the theatrical version. And also,
it still kind of goes against the ending of BVS too, where it's like, oh, he's still alive. Oh,
he's still alive. And they completely that part. I think retconning that was a totally wrong move, because I was like just ready for him to just rise out of the grave. But I mean, they were like, maybe that's too on the nose with the whole resurrection thing. So I don't get it. And obviously they made it a huge set piece with bringing him back to life. Which
you already include enough religious
the mother boxes
to fucking have like one more thing wouldn't have killed it. Like it was already stupid. Like just fucking have it make sense.
Yeah.
Anyway.
All right. Well, let's move into the movie of the moment. Superman 2025, James Gunn Superman. The Superman that's going to move forward with us, David Cornsweet, probably playing, I think, one of the most comic accurate versions of Superman that we've ever seen. Everybody has been saying it who has loved the movie. This Superman movie feels like the most comic book come to life Superman movie they've ever seen. John, I know that you kind of skipped over this part. Not skipped over, but you didn't really talk about it in too much detail. Is there anything else that you'd like to add? Because for me, I'm just going to put my rating
we've
up.
Talked about it in like 5 different streams at this point.
I know. I think for me, this Superman movie right now, where it's at for me is A tier, because I do still have some issues with the story feeling a little scattered. But if I watch it a second time, it might become an S tier. Right now, I'm just putting it in A tier. It's so close to being an S tier movie for me. I still feel like the original Superman, the movie in 1978, and Man of Steel feel like better films. But like the end credit song stuck in my head. There should have been more Clark moments. You're talking about the Justice League, I think, Chili Chin. But I wonder if he will get Darkseid. That's a good question. As far as what, I don't think they're building up to Darkseid anytime soon in the new DCU. But eventually, yes, James Gunn will definitely not include him. So. I think A tier is good for Superman. He's the most comic book Superman. He's S tier for that alone, warts and all. Well, for me, I think for me the warts matter maybe a little bit more. It's all subjective, right? I think Enterprising, in your tier list, you probably did put Superman in the S tier, and that's perfectly okay. John did. Wait, did you put him in the S tier, John? Superman?
No, I put it in A tier.
A tier. Okay, so we agree with you there. So, you're talking about Superman 2025. You would have liked to see more Clark Kent moments. I agree with that too. I feel like I felt like we were promised more Clark Kent than we got in the movie. Would you agree with that, John, or no?
Yeah, I think there should have been more Clark Kent in the movie. I think.
Yeah. Just we got a lot of him early on, but then after that, it feels like he's Superman the rest of the film, right? So There we go. Now I'm just gonna quickly go over and see if we can get a gauge of what you guys have been voting
Oh,
on
I
here.
already put
So
that. Okay.
Hmm?
I think you should quickly include your despite all you need an ad blocker, bro. Like goddamn.
I had one and then it doesn't anyway. I need a better one.
I
guess.
think maybe you should do the click your favorites in for or not.
Oh, we could just go here. The most votes. So we've
I
got
want to
8
have your
participants.
list count, and then
Oh, I
that's what I
see.
was.
Okay, well, what did I? Let's see. What did I do? I did Superman 78. Oh, this is a different thing. Superman 78 for me was actually this was A
A
tier.
tier.
All right. Where did I put Superman Mole Man?
I think
Was that
C tier.
no?
Yeah,
Wait, was it
that
C
was
tier?
yeah. You did.
Wow. Somehow that ended up in above. Yeah. Well, actually, I think that's deserving. It's definitely better than those Superman 3 and 4. So that goes in C tier. Where did I put Superman? That was S tier, right?
Yep.
S tier for Superman. Superman 2 for me was A tier. Then Superman 3 was D tier. Quest for
Who's
Peace.
the one motherfucker that put it in C tier? Who the fuck are you?
Superman 3? We're looking for you, man. Superman Returns.
No,
Where did I
Superman
put
4.
that?
They put it in C tier. I'm like, who the fuck put it in C tier?
Wow. Okay. You know what? To each their own, though. To each their own. Man of Steel, I put in S tier. And BVS, where did I put that? I put that in
B tier.
B tier. B tier. All right. There we go. B tier. Right in the middle. And then Justice League, I put in A tier. Was it? Yeah. All right. A tier. There we go. So
got a lot of people in fucking D tier for fucking, damn.
I also wanted more Mind Pocket in the new Superman. I thought that Mind Pocket were some of the best parts of the movie. I just, from the first time they're calling, Clark when he's at the Daily Planet to everything else we got from them afterwards, it was fantastic. Gunn is S tier. David is one of my favorite Supermen of all time now. There you go. I mean, one movie though, so we'll see how this David Cornsweet evolves over time. Gotta get back to the fray. Yeah, this particular Superman talks in a way that not even any of the other actors in his own movie.
I think that's just David Cornsweet being David Cornsweet. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, maybe. What is going on here? Now it's gonna make me do this whole thing. I turned on the ad blocker, and now we're having trouble. But anyway, John, the most votes, basically everybody's votes combined, 77 votes in total. Superman consistently 1978 gets the S tier vote. In the A tier, you got Superman from this year, Superman 2, Man of Steel, Zack Snyder's Justice League, and then seemingly everybody roughly put Superman Returns in the B tier. Let's break it down quickly. So one person put it in A tier, then it's got a scattering of votes across, most people saying C or B tier. The moment, I mean, I feel like nobody put it on A or S tier because people just don't. I mean, this
or
what,
never
like 70 years ago.
It, so.
Yeah, I don't think enough people have seen it to remember it to care about it enough. Pretty much everybody put Superman 4 in D tier minus one person. Superman 3, most of you put it in D tier. Some of you put it in C tier. I don't know who put it in B tier. It looks like BVS was widely panned. I guess I am in the minority, and me and one other person put it in the A tier. So, but you can see how divisive the movie was. There are people voting across the spectrum. Let's see, Zack Snyder's Justice League, again, some people said it was D tier, and then the equal amount of people said it was A. So, Man of Steel, look at that. I was the only S tier,
though. I will say that. That's interesting.
No D tier. That's good. What the hey, dude? I like Superman 3 and 4, even though. What the hey, because he doesn't want to swear. Yeah, definitely. Being kind is a new punk rock. Exactly. I think that's literally James Gunn writing his own, take on Superman into the dialogue of the movie. Because that's exactly what James Gunn believes. And it's in a lot of ways really true. I think in today's world, Superman does believe in kindness in a world that believes kindness is old-fashioned is a very, very true statement. Superman 2, there's nobody that put it below a B tier, John. The vast majority of people put it in
I'm the only
S
person
tier.
that put it in B tier because I put it in B tier. So
dang. Okay. Wow. I was surprised you did that though. Superman.
It's really
movie,
not that great of him. I mean, General Zod's awesome, but like the rest of it's.
Look at the universal appraise for Superman. Only 2 people put it in A tier. Pretty much everybody else put it in S tier. So I think that's probably the closest thing to a unanimous vote on any movie was for Superman the movie. And then of course the next closest is probably Superman. One person put it in B tier. Everybody else put it in A tier, and then a couple of people in S tier. So that goes to show you. I mean, look, the average vote, if you do that, there's a bit more of an average distribution where Man of Steel and Superman kind of end up more or less in the same tier as Superman 2, and then Superman the movie still at the very top. Yeah, Superman Returns and Zack Snyder's Justice League kind of the middle childs, and then everything else is kind of below it. And Superman 4 is the other unanimously voted worst movie on the list. So there you go. Nobody voted it higher or seemingly high. I think there was maybe one exception to the rule.
Mm-hmm.
Jose, you haven't seen Superman, Jose? Oh my god, dude. Okay, go see it because we get into spoilers here all the time. I don't know how you have survived spoilers at this point, but we hope you like it because I know you're so excited for it. I know you couldn't go see it because you just had a baby, and 4 of 4 now. If family keeps growing, so we do love and appreciate that you're willing to share that part of your life with us.
What's real is family.
And we love and appreciate that you guys are willing to come and share your time with us. And with that, John, I think we have come to the end of Tier List Tuesday. This went a little bit longer than we expected, but most of these shows usually do, and we appreciate that you guys are here stopping by live. We will be doing this weekly now, so usually what we will try to do, like unlike today, because there was I had to do some work, so I had to step away for a bit after the Also Curious the DCU Daily Show. But essentially, next Tuesday we will do the DCU Daily Show. Then we'll do Tier List Tuesday afterwards. If you have ideas for what you'd like to see on a Tier List Tuesday, drop those in the comments down below.
It's most likely James Gunn's movies, superhero movies. So we'll see. But yeah,
most likely. But we can do other things. Like
James Gunn's superhero projects, because then we can put Peacemaker in there. That's just wrong. That's like calling me.
I know. I don't get. I think he's being facetious. Bye, Chili Chimp. See you again, everyone. Yes, we will see you again tomorrow. I
realized his fucking profile pictures of Sasquatch pissing.
Yeah. What do you think, John? Tier List Tuesday doesn't really have an intro, but how about we end it on the baller intro that we have right now with DCU Daily, since we've been talking about Superman today. And then on that note, everybody, we will see you next time tomorrow on another episode of DCU Daily.
It's another project that's been blessed from the beginning.
There's the shot right there. That.
Okay, we don't need to see chorus.
Right there.
Hey, buddy. Eyes up here.
Now you want to get nuts? Let's get nuts. Here we go.
Victory mine. Ask me how am I doing? I'm telling you, really, I'm doing sublime. I never wait in a stewardess line. I just go do it. I'm moving my time. Really had nothing to do with it. How am I moving? I'm moving like you want to shine. Follow my lead. Don't listen to lies. I had to put me all on the line. That's why I know that victory's mine.
I prefer Jared Leto.
Hunka, hunka.